Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammaṃ Sanghaṃ Namasami. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Sāmaṇera Yasa, and it kind of rings nicely, doesn't it? And Anagārika Aaron and David. Just having having samanas come into the world, having people who are interested in training and in taking a step back from the world. It's a beautiful thing. And there's there's 7 billion people in the world. That's enough. They're having a few sort of step out is not a bad thing. And of course, doing it on Visakha Puja, it's a very special day. That was when Ajahn Krunadhammo took his Anagārika precepts. Debbie, you were there, must have been. And it was the day before moving up to Abhayagiri. So it was an extra, the extra month. Yeah, so that the taking on a training. There's a chant that we do. It's from a sutta. The 10 reflections of one gone forth. And the very first reflection, Vevan niyami aju pagatoti, babajitena bina bhajavikitapan. So that I am no longer living according to worldly aims and values. This should be reflected upon again and again by one who has gone forth. And so that's a very important reflection, and to making it a very conscious choice, conscious decision, and inclining the heart to picking up a training, taking on a training, stepping back from various duties and responsibilities, associations, within the world, and 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 inclining the heart to freeing the heart from dukkha. It's in with the aspiration of the right within the novice ceremony, sabba dukkha nisarna nibbana sajikiriya. And that that sense of the freeing or escape from all dukkha, and the making clear, realizing nibbana. It's setting an aspiration, and that's a noble aspiration. It's a noble, what the Buddha calls a noble search. This is this one of the discourses of the Buddha recounting. I mean, there's several discourses where the Buddha recounts his own aspiration, his own struggles, his own committing to training and to relinquishment, and one of them is it's called the Ariyasana Sutta, and it's a discourse on the noble search, that seeking of what is noble, and that that wish to live simply, the wish to live in a way that is harmless, that is not increasing suffering in the world. And that's a noble aspiration, the wish to live with integrity, set precepts, training, the wish to live with a cultivation and development of mindfulness and understanding and discernment. That's a noble aspiration. And of course, that's something that is, say, appropriate for anybody. But it is helpful to have structures, have a training, have a place of training and the support of a community, in order to accomplish that, because it's just to turn away. It's like I am no longer living according to worldly aims and values. It's okay to say that, but it takes a while to really turn attention away, or to really change that force of habit and conditioning, or even to make a dent in it. So that having the support of structures and the others who are committed to that training as well. So having those supports are really, really important. And course, I think that's probably well, actually both, say, Sāmaṇera Yasa and Anagārika Aaron have spent substantial periods of time in the monastery already, and then went out and lived in the world, and yeah, it's not easy, and so that recognizing that, yeah, no, for myself, I'd be. I mean, I'm quite disciplined in the monastery, but I don't know. I wouldn't put many bets on myself. So that I just find the supports and the way of life incredibly helpful. And and I think that sense of, and I was after the Patimokkha today. I was one of the things I brought up as a reflection. Just this tremendous sense of gratitude to the Buddha. And of course today is Visakha Puja, a recollection of the Buddha and the Buddha's life. And there's this enormous gratitude for the Buddha having such a clear understanding of human nature, and to give a training and a form that really supports us as human beings to seek what is peaceful, what is for the welfare and happiness of everyone. And of course that's an idiom that comes up in the suttas over and over again. And yes, committing oneself to that which is for the welfare and happiness of all beings. And it's and then in reality, of course, we still have to deal with our own kind of force of habits and our own oftentimes people will sort of, especially in Asia, I'm going to think into like as if you ordain, you've got robes on, and somehow it has you're a purer being somehow, but you ordain and your defilements ordain with you, and it's just the beginning, it's just the start. You have to the work is only just beginning, and but picking up that training, picking up that the skills of living the holy life. And it does take time, which is why we do Anagārika training, novice training. Bhikkhu training is 5 years with the teacher, and then even then you don't want to wander too far away, and keeping on task. And of course, the task is just knowing our own minds, knowing our own hearts, knowing what leads to an increase of greed, hatred, and delusion, leads to a decrease of greed, hatred, and delusion? What leads to an increase of mindfulness, of compassion, of wisdom, and what obstructs it? And so that learning about ourselves, learning about how to establish ourselves in the Dhamma. So that I think particularly reflecting on this in the as the being the Visakha Puja day of recollection of the Buddha, the Buddha's life, and taking an interest and delight in the training. There's in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the account of the passing away of the Buddha, leading up to it, and the passing away. Then there's then the Buddha, of course, I mean he passes away, and then there's a portion of the Sangha who are not so well established yet, and they're kind of distraught, and it's sort of there's some weeping and wailing and tremendous sadness of being separated from the Buddha. And then there's a portion of the venerables, even in the Buddhist time, and it's what are you crying and wailing about? He's finally gone. He's not going to be on our back anymore. This is great. We can finally do what we want, and not have him telling us what to do all the time. But then there's also the portion of the assembly that were of course the Buddha passed away. He's been telling us all along. All things, all conditioned things have the nature to arise. They have the nature to cease. That is the way of all things. Even fully enlightened Buddha is going to arise and pass away. So that, of course, it's good to remind oneself that, and sort of, which group do I want to be in? And encourage oneself, and because all the options are open, everything's available to one. We make our own choices. We have the opportunity to enter into and abide in the fruits of our actions. And of course, that's in those 10 reflections for one gone forth, one of them is the same as in, say, 5 reflections that one should do frequently. I'm the owner of my karma, heir to my karma, born of my karma, related to my karma. abide supported by my karma. Whatever karma I shall do for good or for ill, of that I will be the heir. So that we, the choices that we make, the things that one commits to, inclines to, cultivates and develops, those bear fruit, and so that it's this really making a commitment to training. And you're thinking like some of the stories of the Buddha, and they have an air of a feeling of kind of fable and some of these are they from the old literature and stories, and it can sound just like some fairy tale. Like when the Buddha was born, it took 7 steps, and lotuses sprung up underneath each step that he made, each of the 7 steps. And Lumpur Cha used to sort of say, well, I don't know if lotuses popped up or not, but each of those 7 steps, if you reflect on what did the Buddha walk his whole life, especially when he made his commitment to going forth and to seeking truth, was the 7 factors of awakening. These are the 7 steps that we need to be taking over and over again. And when we really commit to those 7 factors of awakening, walk our life with those 7 factors of awakening, those 7 steps of liberation, of enlightenment, it would be as if that we're sort of, because lotuses are always a symbol of purity, and those, that's what is, this purity is receiving us and carrying us, and of course it doesn't just again, we don't become magically pure because we put robes on. If we commit to training, commit to this, these steps to wings to awakening, and they carry us to a place of freedom. Or in the story of it was fairly recently, Ajahn Yaniko, the reflection on the Buddha on after he had his meal on the day of his awakening, and he took the dish that he'd eaten from and put it into the river and made the adhitthana, the resolution, almost like an asseveration of truth. If I'm going to be liberated, may this dish sort of float upstream rather than downstream. And of course the river kept flowing downstream. It's its nature. But in the story, then the dish goes back upstream. But in terms of say a Dhamma principle, for one committed to the Dhamma, seeking peace, seeking freedom, seeking awakening, we have to go against the stream of the world. We have to go against the stream of desire. We have to go against the stream of habit. We can't be content to just drift along in the most convenient, comfortable, lackadaisical way, and hope to really taste the fruits of the training. There's a necessity to question, to bring into question our the assumptions of habit and preference and views and opinions and desires and attachments, and to question them, to not just follow them. I mean, they're incredibly deep-rooted, and of course that's the Buddha himself as the primary example. He was one who left the palace, left a comfortable life, left a life of accomplishment and sort of love around him, and I mean, it's in that Aryasana Sutta. It's very beautifully put. Where why do I, who is subject to aging, sickness, death, dissolution, change, why do I continually seek after that which is also subject to aging, sickness, death, change, dissolution, separation? Why do I keep doing that? And of course, that's a question for all of us. Why do we keep doing it? Why do I keep doing it? It's a really poignant question, and for encouraging ourselves to seek what is free from aging, sickness, death, free from dissolution, separation, free from discontent, from dis-ease, free from dukkha, and it's such that is a noble search, and it's a really truly noble search, and so to be able to remind ourselves of that, and it requires a certain going against the stream, going against the flow of our preferences and our habits, and it doesn't. But taking an interest in it isn't like kind of begrudgingly doing what's difficult. It's more like taking an interest in what's actually for what's for our true well-being, true happiness, true peace. What is it that's going to bear fruit? There's an idiom that Ajahn Mahabua always uses in his when he's talking about practicing, saying that it's an onomatopoeic, lom luk luk klan. It's a very beautiful idiom, and but it's sort of like you practice by falling down, getting up, and kind of stumbling and crawling, and that's kind of what practice is. But we learn from it, and we pay attention to how to get it more smooth, how to get it more upright. Another image that's part of the ancient stories is that when the Buddha went to sit by the banks of the Nelanjara river in this place, this cool grove of trees that he had found, and this particular Bodhi tree, that banyan tree that he thought was particularly suitable for his efforts. A farmer came along and cut some 8 bundles of kusa grass for him, and gave him to put as his seat. So these 8 bundles of grass were his seat. Lumpur Cha used to always say that was the Buddha sat on the Eightfold Path. That's what he sat on. These 8 bundles of grass are not just sort of grass. I mean, this Eightfold Path is what one's sitting under. This is what one is enlightened, relying on. And so that these images and these of the Buddha and of the story of the Buddha, this is the story of a human being seeking true knowledge and understanding of the world, and liberation from the world. And that's the example that the Buddha gave is in terms of his life, is one that we all as human beings, the Buddha said, if you couldn't do this, I wouldn't teach it to you. But you can do it, so I teach this to you, and that, so that picking that up and with that that recollection of gratitude that the Buddha gave us this example, gave us these teachings, and to be to kind of delight in the opportunity that we have. And in particular, today being a day with a new Sāmaṇera, 2 new Anagārikas. It's always auspicious beginning, but this is really auspicious. And just picking it up and giving attention to this in your lives, and just to wish the 3 of you well, and just be be ready to be inspired and put forth effort. Be ready to hit walls and have difficulty, and reach out to others when you do hit a wall. That's everybody who's in this hall has been practicing for some time, and everybody's gone through difficulties, and so just being willing to learn from each other, and also to be a support for each other, and say that sense of growth in the Dhamma comes through as mutual support and mutual admonition. So I'll offer that for reflection this evening.
Sāmaṇera